Welcome to episode 134 of the Hail Married podcast. Today, we're talking UTSA soccer as we preview the 2026 season with a special guest and talk about the team's new mantra, Dogs Never Die. What does it mean? And what can we expect from the Roadrunners this season? Let's get started. We're happy to be joined today by special guest, head coach Derek Pittman of the UTSA soccer team. Derek, always great having you on to talk with us. Even better to do it when we're talking about those wonderful players you have in your program. So thank you in advance for taking the time to join us in the pod.
No, I appreciate you guys. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys a couple times a year, talk about the program, talk a little bit of football, the good kind of football.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, let's kick it off here and just finish out 2025 season. You finished last season with that incredible run, winning your first American Conference tournament and then taking Texas Tech to the wire, really, before falling 2-1 in that first round game. Now that you have time to kind of reflect on the season, and what were your biggest takeaways from, including the title run and that tournament game?
Man, I think it's a great question. I think for me, like when you look back at the season, I don't think we really realized it in the moment, but as you obviously in retrospect, you look back and you just look at so many like little wins. And I mean, like
Yeah.
in training to how our kids started conducting themselves and believing in themselves to how they were, going handling adversity. We made a joke as a staff one point time. I think we were uh, like 6-0 when playing in the rain. Like just the conditions, like simple like things like that. And as insignificant as some of those things seemed, it just was our players had this mindset of like, listen, as the season wore on, it became anywhere, anytime. We don't care who we're playing. We feel like we can, if we do what we're capable of doing, we're going to have success. And um, I it started creeping in probably about midway through the season. And then with the win over USF, which was the first time we'd ever scored on them and the first time we'd ever beaten them. So that was massive boost in the confidence to even, the results against Rice on the road to outplaying North Texas at home and then going even into the Memphis game. And I know we lost the regular season match against them, but we specifically set out in that game like, listen, we're going to give them our best shot and let's find out who we are and what we're made of. And
Yeah.
I thought we went toe to toe with them very, very well in that regular season game. Now, granted, they finished their chances and beat us, but I think it gave our players, even in that loss, just this confidence and this sense of belief that we could play anybody. And then to kind of finish off the season on a high note and getting the points that we needed down the stretch to ultimately finish tied for third in the league. And, it was huge. And so I was, taking that belief into the tournament. They just started buying in to like, hey, and not that they weren't early on, but I think it just that belief just grew week after week after week that the coaching staff is setting us up in the best possible place to be the best version of us. And if we trust that and we, execute that, then we're going to be in a position to hopefully win the game. And so, yeah, that's exactly their mentality through the entire week when we were in Tampa for the conference tournament and ultimately going into the NCAA tournament game against Tech. We knew it was going to be a challenge, but we felt like it was a challenge our kids were going to be up for. And they did. Like, our backs were against the wall in many, many moments. And I know they wish they had a couple maybe plays back from that game
Sure.
but it was exhausting just like defending your tails off as a collective group for 80 minutes and to be tied up to that point. And that now becomes the evolution of our program.
Mhm.
It becomes our kids are more hungry now, not just to win another championship, compete for another championship, but they're talking about, now, coach, we're going to the NCAA tournament, regardless of whether winning the tournament or not. We want to be in an RPI position. We want to, depending on who we get matched up in the first round, they're talking about like, how do we win our first NCAA tournament game as a program? And so that's so fun to be a part of because it's just
Yeah.
it doesn't become we're satisfied where we're at. It becomes, what are we capable of? like, and some of the things that we're talking about is that many, many times as human beings and as a program, we vastly underestimate what we are simply capable of. And that is what
Sure.
our players, I think, are really trying to take hold of this season of if we fully engage and go full all in, what are we genuinely capable of? And blowing the ceiling off this thing. And it's a lot of fun to work with players that are in that mindset and in that headspace to be able to go, let's go. The sky's the limit. Let's find out what we can do. And so yeah, it's a lot of fun coming off of what we built in 25. And I'm really excited and encouraged where we are right now, and as we get this kicked off this season.
Yeah, I mean, looking at 2026, you guys are picked second in the pre-conference standings in the American Conference, and you've gone from being the hunter to the hunted. And that, like you mentioned, it's a completely different mindset, and having to look at how they handle those expectations, I'm sure has to be a challenge for this team.
It is. I mean, I like being the underdog coach, the underdog team, I guess.
Sure.
So when we came out second, it was kind of like bittersweet. It's like, "Oh, that is amazing. Like the respect we got from the league is tremendous. While at the same time going, dang it, I really wish they would have picked us, fifth or sixth. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Andrea. Like being going from being the underdog that's chasing the mountain to now being a little bit further up the rung of the ladder, and somebody's coming for you, and you are now a target for people to beat. um and they're going to prepare for us a little bit better. They're going to, be a little bit more energized when they come into Park West and play us, to knock us off, right? So, yeah, it's a new place for our players, but we've been really talking about is like, listen, we can't control that. Like those are preseason polls, those preseason accolades, they're great. But at the end of the day, it's about how we prepare and go about our business every day. And if we do those things, then the rest of the things will fall in place.
I knew that you would have like, I wouldn't say an issue with it, but there would be something coaching wise that you'd be like, I really didn't want that second, to be picked second. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're validating my suspicions here, because now I'm going to pat myself on my back and think, all right, I'm getting to know Derek a little bit better, and I kind of know exactly what he's going to expect. But just kind of going further, then, last year they were talking about off the leash mentality, right? Just that motto. Does that phrase still pertain this season, or is there like a new motto that you've heard them talk about?
Their new model is dogs never die. So it's kind of what's funny is when they brought it to us, and of course us older members on the staff, they brought it as like D&D, and we're like, do not disturb? Is that Dungeons and Dragons? Like what is that?
I'm
But
with you.
yeah, no, we give them permission, and that's some freedom that they have, to kind of pick their own hashtag, pick their own piece that they want it to be. And yeah, like I think it's a fitting continuance of what they started last year and what we want to continue this year, and just to play like dogs, and have that off leash mentality. And I know you guys know that's a staple and a pillar of our program, is that we're always going to be that relentless, team out on the field. We're going to press you. We're going to attack you. We're going to get after you physically and competitively. And so, that's the mentality our players want to have, is just having that relentless desire to just keep going. And regardless of what's happening, we're going to continue to compete and fight for every inch.
Well, we saw on Instagram that you guys did the Navy SEAL training again this season. Last season, it really seemed to be something that made an impact on the team. So, is this something you're trying to do annually now? And what were you hoping that the players would take away from it this season?
Doing it annually sounds great. I'm all for it, but I think it's got to mean something to each group, right? It can't just become, just mundane and
Sure.
watered down. And so, we talked about doing some of the same activities, but how could we add some different layers to what we were doing? And meeting with Petty Officer Thompson and some of the guys that were working with us, I talked about it. It's like, listen, last year we had just a bunch of new faces, a bunch of newbies that hadn't really played in an American athletic game, let alone competed for a championship, etc. I think we look back and there was only 5 or 6 kids that even played in an American athletic regular season game on our roster last year before we got rolling. And I said, now we have a group that's returning that has won a trophy, and freshmen that are coming here to be a part of transfers that are coming here to be a part of that. And so to your point, like, what is that mentality of going from being hunted, doing the hunting versus being hunted? And so we kind of talked about that. And so that's when the boat came into play of like, how are we all carrying this boat in the same way? And regardless of whether you're in the front, the back, the middle, wherever it is, even on the outskirts, how are you being positive and encouraging? What is your role within this? And so, yeah, so there was definitely some real positives out of that, and I think the challenge is just trying to provide enough variety every year that isn't just the standard, cookie cutter stuff. And
Yeah.
we've done ropes courses in the past. In past years I've been here. This Navy SEAL training has been really awesome because coming out of the ROTC group on campus, it's been fantastic because they're purely invested in our team and helping us be successful. Another thing we've done in the last few days is also doing some team building stuff with a company called Novus Global. Some friends of mine that work in that company are really good at coming in and coaching teams and leaders, and really kind of expanding on that phrase I said earlier, what are we capable of, right? And, really pushing the envelope instead of, setting ceilings for ourselves or goals. Like, let's set some goals that actually are thrilling and damn near seem impossible, right? And that's what's going to get our blood flowing. That's what's going to excite us, and how we go about accomplishing that as a collective group. And so that's been really fun to see. There's been some leaders that have stepped up in some of those conversations, and yeah, the chemistry and the culture of our group is in a really positive place. And it's a lot of fun as a coach and a coaching staff to be around that, right? It's a joy
Yeah.
to come to
Yeah.
work. When you see your players or have a smile on their face and they love what you're doing and love what we're doing as a collective group, it's a lot of fun to be a part of, for sure.
We talked last season about some of the changes that were happening with rev share and scholarships, and particularly we talked about some of the other programs in our conference had been adding scholarships. Where does UTSA sit now relative to those other schools in our conference? And how much would closing that gap really help the program move forward?
Yeah, that's a massive hurdle for us, to be honest with you. And listen, I get it. Like, Dr. Campos is doing everything she can to, keep moving the needle forward for football, baseball, men's and women's basketball, and those sports, hands down, for sure, are big priority sports on our campus and in our department. And I know Coach Traylor, Coach Hallmark, Coach Aston, Coach Clonch, all four of them, like, are absolutely busting their tails to put the best version of their teams out on in competition each and every week. So we've got to do everything we can to help those teams progress. But yeah, it's honestly, that's something that's a massive piece for us, is we are way behind in women's soccer when it comes to where the rest of the league is at. To have some of the teams be up around 20 to 22 scholarship. And so with that being said, right, our roster limit is 28 now under the new roster cap or roster limits that the NCAA has provided. So we can have up to 28 players on the team, give or take some designated players. But saying that, then now that's also our scholarship limit. We can go up as high as 28 with scholarships. And so a lot of your P4 schools are out there, that not all of them, maybe, I'm not sure exactly who's what, but I would say vast majority of them, probably 80% or more, are living in that range of 26 to 28 scholarships on their women's soccer program, right? So they're giving
Wow.
full ride offers to, 80% of their roster. And that's what we're battling. And
Mhm.
so now, and you look in the league in the American, and like I said, there's a couple schools that are in that 20, 21, 22 scholarship range. Again, it's massive. There's another group of that's probably in 17, 18, 19, and then there's three of us that are at the bottom. And it's just the honest truth. Us, UAB, and Temple, all three are living at the bottom in the sense of still hovering around 14, 15 scholarships. In regards to trying to put our best roster together. And we've been able to do it this season, but that's not sustainable over the years. And
Mhm.
Dr. Campos knows that. Her and I have had these conversations of how can we keep moving the needle forward for our program, because we built this into a championship program. We've won
Yeah.
2 conference championships in the last 4 years. So how do we stay competitive in what we're doing? And, we need everybody's help, from a donor standpoint and the community standpoint to continue. If you don't feel, obliged to support one of those other four sports that I mentioned, and you love women's soccer, by all means, you can donate to women's soccer
Yeah.
and help us increase our scholarship fund, right? And so, those are things that we're trying to do, and continue to keep this team competitive, because we've worked really, really hard up to this point of the last 8 years to put this team on the map, and I don't want to see that fall by the wayside and fall backwards, because we can't keep up from a scholarship standpoint. And I know our administration is doing everything they can to continue moving that needle, and as best they can. But as coaches, it never happens as fast as we would like. So
Sure.
Sure, sure, sure. Well, kind of piggybacking off that, there's also kind of been talk of like a year-round schedule for women's soccer. Well, I know for the men's side, they were talking about trying to get it in 2026, and I don't know if that's going to be that actually happened, but at least for women's soccer, they were talking about 2027, 2028. So, what's kind of your read on that, and how would it affect the program and based off of some of the scholarship talk?
yeah, I would. That's a great question. And honestly, that's null and void. To be honest with you, there's over 85% of us women's college coaches voted the year-round model down. So
Okay.
that's not something that we want. We've gladly said, listen, men's soccer, you guys want to go do this year-round model and try to explore that as a choice, go for it. Our big thing that you saw this year is this is the first year that we were able to train our players we had an acclimation period, which was from July 15th to July 28th. It was a 2-week window that we were allowed to work with our athletes for 10 hours during each of those weeks. And 5 of those 10 hours could be soccer related. So they could do, we could run 5 1-hour training sessions if we wanted to, or we could run 3 hour and 20 minute segments, whatever we wanted to do. And so that was a game changer, because we've been going with our players have been here since July 1st, but we've been honestly on the field with them since July 15th, a full 4 weeks before our first game. And that's been huge, because that acclimation period, to be able to take care of our athletes, get them fit, start kicking the ball around, start implementing some of our game model, what we want to see from them on the field, has been huge. And then we also backed up the end of the season by a week. So we added this acclimation period on the front end, and then added a week at the end. And so it's really decompressed what we've traditionally known as a typical soccer season of trying to jam 20 games into a 12-week period. We've actually, over the last a couple of years ago, they went to 14 weeks, and now we are literally at 16 weeks, which is awesome, because we're now still playing the same number of games, 20 games, but we're decompressing that. So you're going to see a lot more single game weeks on our schedule, right? Where I think we only have maybe 4 double weekends through the entire season, which is awesome, because now it's
Yeah.
going to be allowed so much more for training, so much more for recovery. You,
Yeah.
you hope to see that the quality of the soccer across the country just continues to go up, because we're able to kind of decompress things and hopefully keep people healthy and do everything we can to put our best foot forward to play some quality soccer each and every night.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, you also added a new assistant coach in this offseason, Scott Sinclair. So tell us a little bit about him, and what was it about him that made him a great fit for this team?
Yeah, we lost Rob McGann. He'd been with me for 2 years, which was bittersweet to see him leave. He's become a really really close friend that we still text on a regular basis. He'll ask me for training sessions, and I asked him for training sessions, different things, and it's been great. And no, super happy for him and his family to move to Auburn and go work at Auburn under James Armstrong, who's another phenomenal dude. So I was happy for him. And so, and that's been the kind of, to be fair, Andrew, that's been a bit of the story of our program as well, right? Is not just, things that we need from a scholarship standpoint, but also being able to pay our assistants to be able to keep good people. And it seems I've had 5 different assistants in that quote unquote first assistant role over the last 8 years. And I've had 3 different assistants in, Colleen's position, her being the third. And, so we've had some rotations. And the thing is, I really pride myself on is hiring good people. Um, First and foremost, I want people that are going to come in and love on our players well, invest in them, be a people, a player's coach, if you will. And so, and then on top of that, are you a good tactician? Are you a good, a good at video analysis, what have you? And so, yeah, as we were going through the process and we were looking at a number of different candidates that were interested in the position, we talked to a good majority, and Scott's name just kept coming up. He was recommended to me by a former assistant coach of mine as well, Peter Malumba, who's now at Houston, and as an assistant there. And he'd kind of told me about Scott, and then I started kind of talking to a few other people, other coaches that I knew, and yeah, there was something about him, just a positivity. I can't understand a word he says because he's Scottish, and it sounds like he's talking with marbles in his mouth. But no, he's just a really man. He's an extremely hard worker. He's a phenomenal dad and husband, and I think that's also something that's important to me because I want to make sure that the role model that we are for our young ladies is that we are all about our family, and yes, we devote, gosh, hours and hours and hours here, but that we're also good human beings. And so those are a lot of things that first of all stood out to me. But no, the way he sees the game, he breaks down film very, very well. He's learning how I kind of do it, so he's adapting a little bit with that. But he's been a tremendous recruiter. He's got great contacts. He is our recruiting coordinator, so he takes the lead on a lot of our recruiting as far as pointing us in the right direction. And then a lot of the tactician type stuff where he's a lot, and Colleen contributes a ton from the goalkeeper's perspective, but I really ask Scott to look through the lens of our attacking group, right? Like, hey,
Okay.
how is how we're playing affecting our front 3, 4, 5 players? And then Colleen looks at it probably a bit more like me through a goalkeeper's lens as former goalkeepers. So we look at it a little bit more from a defensive sense. So that was what was important to me is I wanted to make sure it wasn't another set of eyes looking through the same lens.
Mhm.
So important that we kind of look from different perspectives and kind of hear out our players and help them continue to develop. So yeah, all of those qualities as a human being, but also as a really, really talented up and coming coach.
Yeah, I'm sure it's frustrating, but you can also look at it as being flattering that the Pittman coaching tree is continuing to grow.
It's funny that you say that. Colleen has desperately wanted to create a graphic that had a coaching tree of all these different people. I've been in the game 25 years, now 26. It's there's a lot of significant relationships along the way, which is that you're absolutely right. I do take a lot of pride in it. I hate to see them go, but I'm happy that each and every one of our assistants that have moved on has gone on to be something really, really special at their respective place they're at now.
Yeah, you seem to be doing the same thing, like with just like some of the other UTSA coaches, right? They lose the assistants, but they always go to something a little bit better, right? And they just keep getting more experience. So
Yeah.
I know how you were talking about Scott, and it was Scott from Scotland, as we were we had talked about, I think, from the fan perspective. But you talked about his attacking and his vision for the attack, and you have some of the strongest offensive players you probably had ever, maybe this
Yeah, yeah,
season.
for sure.
You've got, obviously BB and Ava Jackson, who are 2 key returners at forward, obviously. But tell us about some of the other players that have come into this for this year.
Yeah, you've got the likes of Bree Kerrigan coming back. Had a great end to the season. I fully expect her to have a phenomenal season this year. So it's nice to have her back into the group and competing for playing time. We've shifted with some of the recruits that we've been able to land in the portal, and as well as the newcomers as far as freshmen. We've shifted a little bit of a different shape now. Instead of our traditional maybe 4-4-2 or 4-3-2 or 4-3-2-1 or different positions that we play. We've kind of trying to take a risk and get all those attacking personalities on the field. So what does that look like in a 3-5-2, 3-4-3? We've got some really talented pacey kids out wide, and Sabrina Tabor and Sadie Paul. Sadie coming from TCU. Prior to that, she was at SMU. So again, you got a kid that's played at a really high level, both in the in Sadie's situation, ACC, and then even in the Big 12 with TCU. Same thing with Sabrina Tabor, local kid, Smithson Valley High School. We knew about her coming out of high school, and she had bigger hopes and dreams, which I get it. She goes off to Cincinnati and sadly, suffered a couple injuries that kept her off the field in her 2 years there. But then, transfers a little closer to home to Houston. We tried to get her, when she went to Houston, and I think that lure, she wasn't quite ready to give up that P4 dream, which I get. I completely understand it, but she went there,
Yeah.
played a little bit of a role, but nothing super significant. And then, so when she went back in the portal, I was like, listen, kid, come on, come home, like come back to San Antonio. And it's been really cool because both in Sadie and, Sabrina's situation, as well as Shay Ryan, even coming to us from A&M, they've all gotten with this 5-for-5. Now we're going to have them for 3 years. And Sabrina Tabor is in her 4th year of college, and she still has this year plus 2 more. So she's going to be able to
Wow.
play. So that's tremendous. And to have that type of experience on the field. Again, same thing. Sadie Paul is in her 3rd year, but she's still got, like I said, this year plus 2 more. Same thing with Shay Ryan coming in from A&M. She played at Kansas. She was a big time recruit out of California that went up to Oregon State, and then some coaching changes happened at Oregon State, so she went to Kansas for a year. Didn't work out well there. Went to A&M. Obviously, things shifted now. A new head coach coming in at A&M, and so yeah, like all of those kids, having that 3 more years on their same thing. I mean, BB's got 4 years left. You've got Ava Jackson has 3 years left. Bree Kerrigan 3 years left. So there's a lot of excitement in that attacking group, but we add the likes of Amelia Clark, first ever Texas high school state player of the year to play in our program, and
Yeah.
score 75 goals in high school, and now being on our team was super exciting. Comes from a soccer junkie family with both sisters playing, all of her sisters playing at the college level ahead of her. So excited about her. Claire Garrett's, and you're right, like Adelina Torres Rava is a freshman coming in the midfield, and she's playing like a seasoned veteran right now, which has been a lot of fun to see. I think her experience with the Puerto Rican youth national team has been really valuable for her. She's not too rattled by the chaos that happens at this level. She's been really, really good. Again, Sam Garofalo has been really good. Jazz Gonzalez, who came to us in the spring, has been solid. But Olivia D'Ambrosia, and then she was another Colorado kid that's adjusting. Really happy with Lily Denhart, our Idaho kid. She's been nicknamed by our academic coordinator the sweet potato, but she's a track star that can run, 18 and a half, 19 miles an hour, owns like track records in Idaho, but she's just, lightning quick. So, the likes of those players that have come in as young players to be able to add to our attack, to stretch the game, and, just give us some diversity as well. Like, we all know BB's going to be on the watch list. We all know, that their attention's going to be pointed at her. Well, if I
Yeah.
can surround her with better players that can take some of that attention off of her,
Mhm.
really good. Or if they want to pay attention to her, great. I got other players that can hurt you as well. So yeah, it's really exciting to know that we have a lot of options up front and in the attack to be able to hopefully be a dangerous team this year.
So talking about those attacking pieces, though, really you played UT Austin. Yes, I'm going to refer to them as UT Austin. Um, there was just a great moment on that goal, and the goal that was scored essentially 3-ish minutes in. You want to walk us through a little bit of just how that buildup kind of went? Because for me, I thought there was so many key pieces to it, but Sabrina Tabor showing off her speed was I think the first part to it. But you kind of want to walk us a little bit through it.
I would even back you up a couple places before that, to be honest with you. And this is perfect. That is, if I could almost draw up a picture perfect goal in our playing style, that would be it, because it came off of a defensive transition moment. They tried
Yeah,
to play a ball in. Casey Garaman won the header. It went into the midfield into Leah. And we talk about, in those moments of a little bit of chaos, how can we secure possession, right? How can we calm the game down and secure possession? Leah did a phenomenal job. She played the way she was facing, which was back to Casey. So Casey, after winning the header, backed up 10 yards to give some, good shape. Leah lays it off to Casey. Casey recognizes that there's a transition opportunity for Tabor, and you're absolutely right. Casey plays a fantastic ball to Sabrina. So there's two passes immediately, right? And then Tabor goes off on one of her historic, and I think you're going to see
yeah,
a ton, is Tabor getting on the dribble and dribbling 20, 30 yards at pace. And she did exactly that. She dribbled hard at their back line. Shea peels off out wide to create some width. And the ball was laid perfectly into her, stride. And then an early one touch cross that came all the way, in behind the back line to BB on the back post. And, I think as we went back and watched video, Ava probably scored the goal, but we gave credit to,
okay.
since it was BB's birthday. It was BB's birthday. So we gave her credit for that. So, but I mean, you think about that, to how organized we were defensively,
Yeah,
to literally, one pass from Leah to Casey, second pass to Tabor, third pass to Shea, fourth pass on the cross, fifth ends up being in a shot, all within 15 seconds. That's fast attacking football. Attack as quick as you can before the other team has a chance to recover. Um, and if we can do that with kind of precision and purpose like that, I think we become a really dangerous team to play against. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun to see. So there's your breakdown. That's a picture perfect moment for what we want this season to look like.
well, it brought me back to like just one of my youth teams because my dad and then like even a couple of the coach at the time, we were built on that kind of quick counterattack, right? Like just how you described it, which was, hey, we take the ball away, and then with like really it was like 3 passes, we were already attacking and about to score on the other team, and the other team would be shell shocked, right? Like, hey, we've controlled the ball the entire time, and all of a sudden they're coming right at us, right? And so
Yeah.
when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is just this beautiful, right? Like I know I give you a hard time about 600, 500 passes, within a system, but
Yeah.
that was just. I mean, we hadn't really seen a lot of it either from UTSA, right? Just that
I don't disagree.
athleticism and that just
Yeah.
awareness. It was really nice.
That's what we're trying to do, right? That is the ultimate product that we're trying to put on the field, that's entertaining to the fans. It's relentless in our pressure to win the ball back, but then ultimately this relentless, aggressive attacking style. But to your point, it was beautiful. It was fantastic. It was just
Yeah,
it was vertical. It wasn't maybe east and west. It was north and south. Let's go. And but again, just even the interchange, and I think that that's the fun part that we have with this attacking group right now,
yes.
that they have the ability to do some different things and play off of one another. And as that relationship grows from some of those personalities on the field, I think we'll continue to see more and more of that.
It just looked like a mid-season form, I guess,
Yeah.
is the other way
Yeah.
to put it. I mean, I mean, you got 2 new players and they quickly, just perfect
Yeah.
passes to each other. So
Yeah, well, Corpus Christi was a little different picture, so thankfully you weren't at that game. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So Zoe kind of anchored your defensive midfield last season. With her gone, who's kind of stepping into that role this season?
Definitely Leah Varela, right? And
Okay.
Leah's an attacking minded kid, but we've really had to ask her to sit a little bit deeper and realize that she can affect the game from a deeper position. Now, it doesn't mean we're never going to put her in a position to go into the attack. She's an energizer bunny, but what she provides us on the defensive side, being able to shut down oftentimes, and I think you guys saw that in the conference tournament, right? So conference tournament, I don't know if everybody picked up on this, but we specifically used Leah to shut down the attacking midfielder for the opposing team. Like, we literally said, listen, your job is to shut down,
I
you
knew
know,
it. I
that
knew it.
player for UAB, I Katagawa for freaking Memphis. Your job is to shut down, you know, this kid for Rice, at the time. So we and she took that task on fantastic. If she doesn't do that job, we don't have the success we have, right? And everybody
Mhm.
doing their part. And so we knew she was capable of doing it, and losing Zoe is never going to be easy. And the hope was that, we'd have the likes of Leah, Addie O'Kelly, Emma Kate Schroll, even, and then Adelina Torres and Val Sanchez, like that we were going to have some options there. And but Leah was always going to be in the midst of that because she's always fit, and she can cover so much ground, and close down space. And she's also really good on the ball. She likes to
Mhm.
get in the ball, play the pivot role, and change the point of attack, or change it to a diagonal pass on the opposite side. And so, yeah, she's done really well. And I need her on the field in a lot of ways for all the set pieces. She takes all of our corners. She takes a lot of our free kicks. Um, and she works at it. And last year I think she was a little bit inconsistent in some of those services, but she's really made it a kind of a point of pride for her that she wants to be in that role and take that responsibility, to take set pieces and restarts to be able to put our team in the best place to score goals. So yeah, she's going to be huge. Addie O'Kelly is back in the lineup, or back in the fold. And if Leah is my little energizer bunny, if you will, I would label Addie O'Kelly as my wrecking ball, because she is just an absolute destroyer. She blows up anything that's near her. I probably should call her like Wreck It Ralph, because it's like, I see ball, I smash player kind of mentality. But yeah, and she owns it, and she loves it. Like, she heads everything, she tackles everything. And Leah's there to kind of pick up the pieces, if you will. So
Mhm.
if that's a good. I love that about our midfield, is that I have somebody that can be the muscle, as well as, what is it, the warrior and the wizard, kind of deal. That's kind of their nicknames, if you will, and how they go about their business.
Yeah, I do love watching them play, and I thought I had noticed that you had like kind of had Leo just shadowing, or at least making sure to shut down some of these players. And it was a collective thing, but still, you have those players to be able to, I think, really just give them one-on-one assignments. Say,
Yeah.
look, I need you to do this, right?
And Ben likes to call Leah kind of a pesky player. She's just kind of the pest that's in the way.
A lot of it is because from when I'm watching, whether it's on TV or whatever,
Yeah.
I see her like in one spot, and then like in the blink of an eye, she's in another spot, and I was like, how did she get there so quickly? Like, I don't see how she did that. And obviously, it might be just a mirage, but she just quickly recovers, or she quickly goes to another spot where she's supposed to be at. And yeah, she's just a lot of fun to watch. I mean,
I mean, our GPS data doesn't lie. She covers the most distance almost every game, and sometimes I try to get her to be like less is more.
yeah.
It not so much when we're defending, but our biggest thing is in possession. Like, she wants to just go, and I'm like, hey, sometimes you just got to sit. Sometimes you got to walk and wait for it to develop, and then burst of speed to support the play from underneath. And so that's something that she's starting to add to her game, and be in a place to where we can allow our, back three, if you will, to find certain passing lanes. And then she doesn't get it from the back three, she gets it from the next layer. And so we talk about
Gotcha.
that being, that way she's faced up forward, and she can play diagonal balls and penetrating passes to get in behind to break lines for us. And yeah, she's learning that, and she's doing a really good job defensively. Like I said, she's an absolute workhorse for sure.
All right, well, let's get over to the defense because you're always obviously strong defensively. And I'm with you. As much as I like some offensive ball, I love defense just because that's just where I came from. And you get return a couple starters in Aaliyah Durden and Casey Graham. I do want to bring up the fact that I don't know how I became a Casey Graham fan last season. It was one of those things where I knew you were losing Sasha Dade, and I was like, well,
Sure.
who's going to replace that
Yep.
legend, right? Like it's a
Yep.
really a legendary player who had some really big moments. And I saw Casey in her first exhibition game, and I was like, oh, okay, well, this is a Derek Pittman player. Like there was a lot of things that she mimicked from Sasha. There were a lot of things that I really liked about the way she saw kind of the field and kind of, supported. There was some toughness. There was also supporting of the attack, just like you mentioned about the UT goal, right? So anything specific that you're looking from her from this season?
No, I don't disagree with you, man. We threw Casey to the wolves straight away in the beginning of last season because I think we had some concerns about who was going to play left back. Haley Lopez at that time was out. Riley Lowe, Riley Miller now is kind of on the right side. We had at that time Cam Close and Aaliyah Durden playing at the center back position, and it was a big question mark through the entire amount of preseason who was going to play left back. And she's not really left-footed, but
Yeah.
she likes to cut it back to her right, and so I'm always like working with her on her left, like, kid, you got to be able to play it, with your left foot. But we threw into the wolves, and to be fair, like it's one of those things. Like I kept looking at her, like, how is she doing this? Like she's actually really good, sneaky good positionally, and she's
Yes.
really calm. And so, like, I've kind of nicknamed her Steady Eddie. Like she rarely puts a foot wrong, but she rarely gets herself in a bad situation either. The only time she gets herself in a little bit of a bind, sometimes she holds the ball a little bit too long. And I need her to play a little faster, and in the change of it, changing the point. But to be fair, like she has been a really calming presence in the back line for us. And yeah, she's doing really, really well. And she's just continuing to grow in her maturity. And um, she's just, and it's funny every time we talk to her, like, hey, how you doing? I'm chill. I'm like, okay, like, are you rattled about anything? Like, do you need help? No, I'm coach. I'm good. I'm just chill. Like, she's just, but she's the one that's like, she's a country girl through and through, who's hunting deer in the fall and fishing in the spring. Like, the kid is as country as they get. Uh, just her older sister just graduated from UTSA. It's just great family, good people. And no, she's been really, really impressive for us. And so, yeah, to have her paired up with Aaliyah Durden in the back, and we're still hoping to get Cam Closa back from injury right now, but she's working her butt off. But I'll be honest, the surprise of camp has quite honestly been Sophia Peters.
Oh, good.
Um, Sophia Peters, I was really harder on her. Listen, she didn't have to, because listen, last year at center back, she had, you know, obviously AD in front of Aaliyah Durden, Cam, her sister Izzy P, and
Yeah.
and if in a bind, I was probably going to put Haley Lopez back there, in center back, which she had played, the year prior. Um, so I mean, in all honesty, Soph was probably our fourth or fifth choice at center back, right? So she
Yeah.
didn't play, she didn't travel. She, I think, got in against St. Mary's maybe last year, in small minutes. And then again, series of injuries, series of setbacks, to a couple different players, opened up the door for her in the spring. And I sat her down in February after pushing her really hard in training. And I sat her down and I said, listen, I am coaching you for the player I want you to become, not the player where you're at. And I said, if I am going to coach you as if you are our starting center back next year. And I said, you better get ready because this is what you asked for. And she leaned on her sister because her sister went through some challenges as well. And it was a very difficult spring for Sophia Peters. But she went away in the summer. I don't know what she did. I don't know if she got a mental coach. I don't know if she got strength coach. I don't know what it was, but the kid has been an absolute rock star for us so far in the preseason. And she's doing a really, really good job. So, yeah, you're going to see a lot of her, in the absence right now of her sister and Cam, and when those players come back, those players are going to have to be on point to be able to get their job back because Soph is starting to play like a player that um, is fighting for a place and is not planning on giving it up anytime soon.
Well, speaking of Cam Kloza, she and Jasmine Kessler were both named to preseason watch lists, and they were both key players last season in your championship run. So you've talked a little bit about Cam, but what do you expect to see out of them this season?
Yeah, I fully, first and foremost, Cam, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek here on the pod. But we just found out that she's actually been labeled as a watch list for the Mac Herman Award.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, as in
Nice.
the number one player of the year in college soccer award, which
Wow.
does never happened here. And I know that's going to continue to inspire her to get back on the field even faster, right? But yeah, she's just a tremendous leader. She is a kid that is selfless. When it comes to how she leads and what this team and this program mean to her, and how the legacy she wants to leave, not from an accolade standpoint, but simply being, a great human being and pouring into the young players that are coming behind her. So yeah, a tremendous leader, tremendous, be another captain for us this year. Right now, just at the start of the year being from the bench area, but she's just so encouraging and uplifting to her teammates. And just when she plays on the field, as you guys know, she plays like a monster, right? And
Yeah.
she is a dog. She's gets after it, heads everything, tackles anything in her area. She's a really talented player, and we're thankful to have her. And then Jasmine Kessler is Kess, the goofy kid that she is, and I can joke with her because, as a former goalkeeper myself, we all have a little bit of a screw loose from time to time. She's such a weapon, right? She's a
Yeah.
phenomenal goalkeeper, phenomenal shot stopper, has gotten so much better in dealing with high balls and traffic situations. She's becoming a better leader and communicator across the back, but then her kicking game can absolutely change a game. To
Mhm.
be able to flip the field if in trouble, she can smash the ball 50, 60 yards and get us out of danger. And that's it. That's a huge weapon. Yeah, she's a lot more insightful this year, like even just conversations that her and I've had, and talk about her future and what she wants to accomplish. And once she's done, she wants to go play pro in Mexico for a time period, and then come back to San Antonio and become a police officer. She's got that laid out. And
All right.
and I don't doubt that she will accomplish every single one of those things along the way. And she's a joy to have in our team. And she's the thing about Kess, a lot of people don't know. She's the one behind the scenes that is, you know, doing vision boards for the players, like to encourage them to tell. She's just so selfish. She made a Afghan for my daughter, like just like can knit, and like it's just like all these tools. And I mean, she's just a huge heart, a giving individual, that really wants to see other people succeed, and will be your loudest cheerleader. She's an absolute sweetheart. Although a lot of people see her as a monster on the field and in goal that, breaks all these records. She does. Trust me, there are times when I try to joke with her in our pregame warm up line, or our line when they announce starting lineup, and she is like stone cold. Like I can't joke with her. She's like, if I joke with her, she looks at me like, "Shut the hell up, coach." Like she is,
She's in the zone.
she is 100% in the zone. And you guys probably aren't old enough. I don't know if you remember old Sylvester Stallone movie that was Over the Top when he was the arm
Oh
wrestler.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Flip
yeah.
his hat backwards
Yep.
in the zone. Like that's Kessler on game day. Like she goes into this intense, focus, and you can't break it. So it's I can joke with most of our kids on game day, but she's not one of them. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally get it. I totally get it from Cass because yeah, when I would get on the game to a game, I'd be like, it's time, and I'd be just saying things to myself to make sure that hey, look, they looked at me the wrong way or something, right? Like something to motivate me to make
Yeah.
sure that I destroyed the ball in the air or whatever. So, um, All right, well, let's get over to right before we, I think, finish up. Let's get over to Texas State.
Okay.
Game is tomorrow. We're looking at the fact is they're coming into a rowdy place. It's our rival. You're starting out game one with them. Any players we should be aware of from the Texas State side, and any keys to the game for tomorrow?
Yes. We haven't played him in a couple years. Coach Steve Holman has done a phenomenal job with his team and his his players, his staff. Um, they have gone it one, it's always a battle between us. It's a
Yeah.
rivalry game. We expect nothing less, right? I don't think there's been a single game that we've played over the last several years that against each other that finished more than a goal, right? Again, one nothing here, one nothing there, 2-1 or tight. Like it's always a battle. In fact, I think the last time we played them was at their place and we lost 1-0. And sadly, I think we had a red card in the game. Jordan
Yeah.
Highland. It was a little bit of a fluky deal, but it's always a heated rivalry. It's always intense. He's gone much more international. So he's got some kids from Ghana. He's got some kids from Japan, France, Spain. He's definitely loaded up that roster with some quality players. So there's definitely going to be some contrasting styles to see and how they deal with our press and how we deal with their high tempo, soccer. Not sure quite what they're going to come out with formation wise, but young lady number 10 is their jersey. Helen is her first name, who's a Ghanaian kid that was, I think, player of the year in the Sun Belt last year, or helped one of the first team kids. Like, she's an absolute handful. She floats all over the place. She plays mainly as a 10, but he allows her to go wide, to come central, to go back, to whatever, go from the left side to the right side. We have to be aware of her because she is a kid that can absolutely change the game if given too much time and space. The other Japanese kid, number 14, I can't think, I'm going to butcher her name, but like, again, same kind of deal. She plays a little more central as kind of an 8, if you will, but
Okay.
she, they want to play through her and Helen, number 10. And they've played in a 3-5-2, so that'll be interesting whether they match us in a shape wise or if they come out in a 4-3-3. They've also played that way. Got a French kid at left center back, can absolutely smash a ball left footed at about 30, 40 yards up the field to be able to cause problems. They got a new Spanish kid up front that is tricky on the ball. So they've got some weapons that we definitely have to be aware of. I know that, they're going to ask a lot of questions of us, and how we handle that for us will be pretty critical for sure.
I do like the fact that we are opening the season against a rival when we just won the championship. It's kind of like a good way to sort of start the season with, oh, by the way, we were the champions in our conference, and so now we're
Yeah.
playing you.
Yes. Well, I will be a little secret as well, is they are bringing their Sun Belt trophy and we're going to bring ours out. And we're
Of
actually,
course.
Yeah.
we're going to do, I have a tremendous amount. Steve and I have been friends since like 2003. And so we're going to honor them in their championship and have both of us have our trophies at midfield in front of our fans. And I think it'll be a good moment to recognize both teams and both programs, because I think both of our programs have come a long way since Steve and I took over at our respective places. And but yeah, no, I agree with you, Andrea, in the fact that we've intentionally scheduled. Last year, you saw it. This year, even next year, I think we open up at Texas State next year, and A&M on opening weekend in 27. So like, we are intentionally playing a really difficult opening weekend to find out what we're made of. And I would rather find out on opening weekend what our weaknesses are than in week 4 or 5, right before we go into conference play. And it
Yeah.
gives us time to fix those problems and make those adjustments and help our players adapt a little bit more to the intensity of the game. So that's been intentional over the last several years. We've kind of looked into our scheduling to really push and challenge our players in the opening weekend. And this weekend is going to be no different, right? To open up with Texas State, who I think both of us ended up in the like top 65 in RPI last year.
Yeah.
and then for us to go on the road and play at number 6 TCU, the Final Four team, from a year ago is going to be a big challenge for our team early on.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I know that we're definitely going to be out there watching this wonderful team. I don't know. Well, maybe I'll just make up a shirt with one of the team players, but definitely going to be wearing Navy for to make sure that we Navy out this game. Derek, it's always fun being on a pod with you because we could go on for hours, but obviously we've got other things we might have to do. You might have to still make some last minute preparations for Texas State, but again, thank you for being on, and we'll be there to watch all those games.
No, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, no, I hope we pack Park West. I think it's going to be really cool. We've got 11 home games this year. So there's no excuses for people not to come out and buy tickets, come out and support us. We've got a lot of really exciting things going on in 2026. And I think it's a good year to get behind us. And I'm really, really grateful for you guys always supporting us in many, many different ways, but for sure with this podcast. We'll get one of our players on here maybe mid-season, and hopefully we'll all be smiles at that point in time.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds like a deal. All right.
awesome,
Thanks,
guys.
Derek.
Thank you very much.